The rain tasted of ash. Silas Harding spat, wiping his mouth with a sleeve already soaked through. October in Blackwood, Pennsylvania, always brought the damp chill, but this year felt different. He could feel it in the low thrumming in the earth, in the way the gas lamps flickered with an unnatural green tinge. He's been a deputy for 15 years, seen plenty of strange goings-on in this backwater county, but the unsettling calm before the storm tonight had promised something wicked. He's been dispatched to the old Harrowgate Estate, perched on a bluff overlooking the Susquehanna. A frantic call from Mrs. Elara Harrowgate, the last of her line, claiming uninvited guests and a darkness rising. Silas figured it was another bout of the woman's nerves. Harrowgate was known to be eccentric, prone to bouts of melancholy since her husband's disappearance 10 years prior. The wrought iron gates groaned open as Silas approached, the sound swallowed by the oppressive silence. The estate house loomed, a Gothic monstrosity of crumbling stone and darkened windows. A single light pulse from a high tower window, a beacon in the encroaching gloom. He found Mrs. Harrowgate huddled in the grand foyer, a frail woman with eyes white with terror. The candelabra trembled in her hand, casting dancing shadows that exaggerated her fear. "Deputy Harding," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Thank God you've come. They're everywhere." "Who is everywhere, ma'am?" Silas asked, his hand instinctively moving to the Colt revolver strapped to his hip. "The Archivists," she said, her voice barely audible. "They're here to collect." Silas frowned. Archivists. It sounded like a collector's club. "Collect what, ma'am?" She didn't answer, her gaze darting nervously toward the spiral staircase leading to the tower. "They want the book. They've always wanted the book." Suddenly, a guttural chanting resonated from the tower, growing louder with each pulse. The air crackled with an unnatural energy, raising the hairs on Silas's arms. "What book are you talking about?" Silas pressed, but the old woman only shook her head, her eyes filled with a profound sadness. He started up the staircase, the stone steps worn smooth by countless footsteps. The chanting grew more intense, weaving a tapestry of unsettling rhythm that seemed to burrow into his mind. As he reached the tower room, the door swung open, revealing a scene of unsettling ritual. 4 figures stood in a circle round a massive, leather-bound tomb resting on a pedestal. They were cloaked in dark robes, their faces hidden by deep hoods. In their hands, they held elaborate, silver implements that shimmered with an eerie luminescence. "This is a private matter, deputy," one of the figures intoned, his voice distorted by the hood. "You are not welcome here." Silas ignored him, his eyes drawn to the book. It wasn't just any book. The leather seemed to writhe with an inner life, and strange symbols pulsed on its cover. He's seen enough oddities in Blackwood to know that some knowledge was best left buried. "What's going on here?" Silas demanded, his hand tightening on his revolver. "We are reclaiming what is rightfully ours," another figure hissed. "The knowledge contained within this book belongs to the collector. It has been misplaced, misused. Collective, misused." Silas felt a surge of anger. "This is private property. You're trespassing." "The laws of man are irrelevant to the forces we wield," the first figure replied. "The book holds the key. It reveals the pathways between realms, the secrets of creation." Suddenly, one of the figures raised their silver implement, pointing it directly at Mrs. Harrowgate, who had followed Silas up the staircase. A beam of emerald light shot out, striking the old woman and sending her sprawling to the floor. "Elara!" Silas roared, instinctively raising his revolver. But before he could fire, the figures unleashed another wave of emerald light, enveloping the entire room. Silas felt a strange tingling sensation, a blurring of perception, as if reality itself was unraveling. He stumbled, momentarily disoriented. When his vision cleared, the tower room was different. The grand windows looked out onto a landscape bathed in an unnatural twilight. The familiar trees of Blackwood were twisted into grotesque shapes, their branches reaching towards the sky like skeletal claws. He looked down at his hands. They were covered in scales. Panic surged through him. He tried to speak, but only a hiss escaped his lips. He looked at Mrs. Harrowgate. She too had been transformed, her frail form now reptilian, her eyes glowing with an unsettling intelligence. "What have you done?" Silas rasped, his voice struggling to form human words. The figures lowered their hoods, revealing faces that were not human. They were vaguely humanoid, but their skin was slick and iridescent, their eyes large and black. "We have shown you the truth, deputy," one of the figures said, his voice echoing with an alien resonance. "You are no longer bound by the limitations of your former existence. You are one of us now." Mrs. Harrowgate, or whatever she now was, spoke in a voice that was both familiar and profoundly unsettling. "The book has shown us the way. The veil has thinned. The time has come for the return." Silas looked around the transformed tower room. the twisted landscape outside the windows, the grotesque figures surrounding him. He had always considered himself a man of logic, a protector of Blackwood, a servant of the law. Now he was something else entirely, something other. He felt a strange compulsion to join the figures, to embrace the alien transformation, to participate in whatever ritual they were planning. But deep within his being, a spark of his former self remained, a flicker of defiance against the encroaching darkness. He looked down at his scaled hand, clenching it into a fist. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing: he would not surrender without a fight. He felt the ancient instinct rise within him. A memory of his grandfather's voice resonated in his mind. "Harding never quits, son. He's been a deputy for 15 years, protecting Blackwood from things people couldn't even imagine. He would not let these creatures, these archivists, take his home, not without a fight." A guttural roar tore from his throat. The archivists recoiled slightly, surprised by his resistance. He lunged forward, striking out with his scaled hand. The fight was on. Suddenly, the entire estate shook violently. A fissure ripped open in the floor beneath them, revealing a chasm of swirling, iridescent energy. "It is not yet time," one of the archivists hissed. "The convergence is not yet complete." With a final surge of power, they seized Mrs. Harrowgate and Silas, dragging them towards the chasm. As Silas fell, he glimpsed a fleeting image of his former self, the deputy of Blackwood, staring back at him, with an expression of profound sadness and a hint of defiant hope. He plunged into the iridescent abyss, the last vestiges of his humanity fading into the swirling energy. The book, left unguarded on its pedestal, pulsed with an ominous glow. The tower room, the estate, the entire landscape of Blackwood trembled, as the veil between realms threatened to shatter completely. The silence was broken only by the whisper of the wind and the unsettling rhythm of the book's pulse, a promise of things to come. A message echoed across the land: "The collection continues.